Hi friends, it's Lisa Mears here. Thanks for joining me. In this video, I'm going to share lots of new products from scrapbook.com. So thank you to scrapbook.com for sending me these to share with all of you. I have markers and stamps and dies, even some paper pads, and all of these products are perfect for everyday crafting, and there are a few here that are specific to fall and Christmas. So in this video, I'm going to share with you all of these products, and then stay tuned to the end because I will be making 2 cards. If you are interested in any of the products that you see here today, check the links down in the description box of this YouTube video because I will have links to all of these products. Okay, so I have to start with these nesting dies because there are so many new fun shapes that were just released. These nesting dies are perfect for layering on your cards. You can even use them with shaker windows. These are such good basic dies for layering and adding that perfect finishing touch to your cards. So this first set of nesting dies is called the Nested Elegant Circle dies. There are 9 altogether. So it's a fun circle shape with a little wavy edge, and you can see what they look like here. So there's 9 different sizes in that. And then the next one is the Nested Morocco dies. And this reminds me of tags. So if you wanted to use these as tags, you can just punch a hole in the top and use them as tags, or you can use them as layering on your cards. Here's another set called Nested Notched Arch dies. There are 6 dies in this set. Next are the Nested Vintage Label dies. And there are 8 dies in this set. And then we have the nested zigzag frames. They have a zigzag edge, and I want you also to notice that these are frame dies, meaning the center is open. So you can actually make a shaker card with these because it just cuts out the frame with an empty center. And there were 5 of the zigzag dies. And there's also the Nested Vintage Classic dies. And that concludes the nesting dies. Now, if you are interested in seeing a video on how to use nesting dies to make cards, I have 2 fun videos on my YouTube channel, and I'll link both of them down in the description. So moving on, here's the flower trio. There's 10 pieces in here, and you can make 3 different flowers, as you can see here on the back of the packaging. The next die is the Stitched Scallop Block Frame. It cuts out this frame with these 6 open squares, and I love that there's the scalloped edge. There's stitching all around it. So fun. I'm going to use this in a card that I make today. There's also the large Honeycomb die. So that's a fun background die that you can use on your cards with the honeycomb shapes. There's also this multi-label die. There's another fun background die. So these are all A2 in size, so they will fit on a card base that is A2 in size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Here's another fun background die. Lots of fun stitching detail on this die. This is the Stitched Diagonal Block die. And there's what it looks like. There's also the stitched triangles. Cuts out the 4 stitched triangles that will fit on the front of an A2 card. Moving on, there are some floral dies. I'm going to be using this one on a card today. This is the Cottage Die set. You have a sunflower, you have some pumpkins, butterfly. There's some leaves for your flowers. There's also that really pretty scalloped frame. And there's an acorn that you can make as well. So that's perfect for the fall season, but you can also use that butterfly for spring cards. This fun die is the t-shirt gift card holder. So it makes this t-shirt and you can fit a gift card inside. So once you finish die cutting and putting it together, it's designed to fit a gift card. This next set of dies and stamp set, it comes as a set. So you have the Oak Lane stamps with some sentiments such as thank you and hello. There are dies to cut those out. There's lots of little sentiments on the stamp set like thankful, grateful, sending a hug, thanks friend, happy fall, thinking of you, happy birthday. So it's not just for fall. There are several sentiments that you can use year round. And notice that some of the sentiments are curved and some are straight. You have these banner dies, one curved and one straight, that you can cut those sentiments out. And there's also a bow on the stamp set, and there's a bow in the die set, and then the stamp set also has this diamond border, and then the set of dies also has some frame dies. There's some nesting dies in here. There are several leaves and there's a few flowers in here as well. So I'm going to turn this over. You can see what they would look like when they're die cut. So lots of options there, and it's the dies with the stamps. So that's the Oak Lane collection. Next up, I want to show you this new tool. This is the Grip Mate. It comes in two different sizes. This is basically a sticky mat, and it can be used to hold your stencils in place when you're stenciling. It can be used inside of your MISTI. In fact, I believe that's what it was designed for. So this large one is 6.5 by 8.5 for the larger MISTI, and you can just put it inside your MISTI and it will hold your papers in there when you're stamping. And then there's a smaller Grip Mate, which is 4.75 inches by 6 inches, and that one you can use for the smaller MISTI. And it has a sticky film on it. So, and it's really sticky, so it will hold your paper down. It's not going to tear your paper when you lift it up, but it will hold it in place. You don't have to use your magnets if you're using that in your MISTI, and I'll show you how I use that later on in this video. Next is a Christmas set. This is called Yuletide. It's a stamp set with some Christmas stamps. There's a sentiment, Merry Christmas, some music notes, best Christmas wishes. So you can see the stamps, and then there's the dies that you can use to cut those out. And then also in this collection is the rub-ons. So this is the Yuletide Rub-ons. It's very vintagey, so if you like that vintage look, this is perfect for you. There's two sets of rub-ons, and you can see what's included there. And then there's also a paper pad in this collection, and I have the A2 size paper pad. So the papers are 4.25 by 5.5 inches. If you like the bigger paper pads, there's also one that is 6 by 8. And each of these paper pads include 40 sheets, some really pretty vintage Christmas papers. Each sheet is double-sided, and you get 5 sheets of each one of the designs. There's a total of 16 patterns in the paper pad, but you can see all of these beautiful pages. So you have that green. It almost looks like a texture. Well, I should say it does look like a texture, but it's not textured. All of these pages are smooth. You have the green stripes. You have some bells. I love this one. It's so pretty with all of the little Christmas icons on there. You have the Santa, and you have the sleigh and the Christmas trees. There's another red. It looks textured, but again, it's not. Some more reds. Some diagonal stripes. I love this one. You can build a little scene with that. You can use your rub-ons if you wanted to build a little Christmas scene. There are some blues in this pad. And then we also have another vintage design there with some writing, and then some blues and beige and red. So that's the Yuletide. And then there's also this die set. It's a Christmas die set. There's a large Merry Christmas and a large Christmas Joy and some florals with some leaves. You can make a bell, and you can also make, I guess that's a poinsettia there. And then there's also the nested stitched gingerbread people. This is the scarf and hat set. So you can see that there are 3 different size gingerbreads, You get the frosting, a scarf, and some bows and hat. This is what that set looks like. And then there's also a girl set. This is the nested stitched gingerbread people with the dress and bow. So you can see you also get 3 of the gingerbread, but the one on the left is the girl. It has a little dress and it includes a bow. And then I also have this paper pad, which this is the 6x8 size paper pads. So I was showing you the Yuletide paper pad earlier. It does come in this size, which is 6x8. So this retreat paper pad is just solid cardstock. This is perfect for fall cards. You can see the really pretty muted color palette in here, and I'll be using this on my cards today as well. This is really, really pretty. Lots of different color greens and beige and brown in there. So next up are the luster brushes. These are brand new brushes at scrapbook.com. Before I get into more detail about these brushes, I want to share with you this marker carrying case. It has a handle on it, and it can hold 24 markers. If you're interested in using this type of case for any of your other size markers, be sure to check the link in the description to head over to this product on scrapbook.com's website so you can see the measurements to see if your markers would fit in here. You can see it does have a closure on top and the markers fit in there vertically. There is also a smaller case that's similar to this, and the smaller case would hold 12 markers. Look at all of these beautiful colors. This particular set here can be purchased as a bundle, or you can purchase each marker individually as well. And then there's another bundle that has these 4 colors, and these are perfect if you like the bright colors for Christmas. So I'm going to just show you really quick how to open these markers. Just unscrew the marker and take out the yellow circle. There's a little piece there that when you put the top on, when you screw this top on, it punctures that black piece, and just screw it on completely, and then you're going to pull the lid off. And you can see that these are all brush markers. So they kind of operate like a paintbrush, and they have the liquid water-based ink inside the barrel. And on the marker it says push here, and you just push and you can see that the ink starts to flow from the inside all the way down to the brush. And I'm sorry that that was blurry, but you can see that the ink is coming down to the end. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm using my mixed media paper from scrapbook.com because this paper is thick and it does well with water-based inks. So you can see you just put it on just like you would if you were painting. And I think that pink is so pretty. I love that color. And I do love that they have the actual names of the markers on the marker itself. So one thing I do want to mention is after you screw this marker back together, make sure that plastic clear part is all the way screwed onto the barrel, because you don't want any of the liquid marker to seep out when you press on the barrel to get the ink down to the brush. So instead of going through each one of these individually with you, I swatched out all of the colors off camera, and here's what they all look like. There's lots of pretty vibrant colors that you can use for shading, coloring, blending, and adding beautiful details to your projects. So I am going to go ahead and make 2 cards using some of the projects that you saw me unbox today, and I'm going to start out with the Stitched Scallop block frame die, which I die cut with the scrapbook.com mixed media white cardstock. I love that cardstock because it's pretty thick, perfect for a card front. So I die cut the frame. Notice it cuts out all the little squares. If you wanted to, you can use this die for a shaker die, because it does have the openings, but I'm just going to use it on a card front today without it being a shaker. I'm also going to be bringing in a piece or 2 of pattern paper from this charming paper pad. So I'm going to use this pattern. I want this pattern to go in the back of my frame. And I can either put the frame right on top and have the pattern paper peeking out the sides, but I don't want to have it peeking out the sides, so I will be cutting that pattern paper down and grabbing the same paper from the Charming paper pad and using the reverse, which is that orange color, and that's what's going to show outside of all four sides of the scallop frame die, and then I'll have that pattern that's peeking through the open squares. So I cut down the orange and white pattern paper to 3.5 by 4 3/4, and I'm centering it on the orange colored paper. And I did not have to cut down the orange colored paper because it is A2 in size, which is the exact size I need for an A2 size card front. And then I'm just gluing the frame right on top. I used some cardstock from the Retreat paper pad and die cut some of the pumpkins from the Cottage die set. And those pumpkins are going to go inside of those openings on the scallop frame die. This type of grid layout makes for such a quick and easy card because you can put different icons in each one of those squares. So I have the pumpkins, and then I also die cut the stem as well as the leaves. And I'm going to add a stem and 2 leaves to each one of the pumpkins. So I'll finish the rest of this gluing off camera, and this is what the pumpkins look like when they're all put together. Next, I'm going to add a sentiment to my card. I'm going to use my Misty. I'm going to take the papers out, but just leave the foam in my Misty. And then I'm going to use the Grip Mate, the one that's large enough to fit inside my larger Misty. I took the backing off, and there's a backing on the front and back, and I'm just going to remove both of them. You can see it's pretty sticky. It's taking a little bit of strength to get that backing off of there, but I'm just going to set it right in the Misty. You can see how it fits perfectly. And that's nice because it's going to hold my paper without me having to use the magnets. So I die cut a banner from the Oak Lane dies, and I just need to find a sentiment that I want to add for this card, and I'm going to use the Happy Fall sentiment. So I'm just going to place it over top of my banner. And then I'm going to stamp this down with some brown ink, and I'm using the scrapbook.com chocolate ink. And you can see that when I stamp it down, that paper is not moving at all. And notice that that paper comes right up off of that sticky mat. So I'm finished with the Grip Mate, and I'm just going to put one of the protective coverings over it so that it keeps from getting lint or dust on top. I'm going to add a piece of foam to the back of my sentiment so that it will pop up a little bit on the front of my card panel. So I'll go ahead and add the Happy Fall on one of the horizontal lines on that scallop frame, and then I'm just going to add that card panel to a A2 size card base. That was such a quick and easy card to put together. I love the soft muted colors in that paper pad. It's so pretty. So there's my first card. For my next card, I'll be using the Retreat paper pad. I'll be using a few of the colors in here for my sunflowers that I'm going to die cut. And I'm also going to be bringing in one of the browns from this Neutrals paper pad. I needed a dark brown for my sunflowers. So I am making some sunflowers using the Cottage die set. Notice there are 2 sunflower dies, and I die cut one in a lighter yellow and one in a darker yellow. And then I'm taking some of my Distress Oxide inks and I'm using a very small ink blending brush. These are the Waffle Flower Shader 0 Plus brushes. And I'm just getting in each one of the leaves and adding some of this Fired Brick Distress Oxide ink. Now I know it doesn't look like much right now with this red ink, but I am going to come in with a brown ink. This is the ground espresso ink, and I'm just going to go over top of the red ink and then just extend that brown out a little bit more on those leaves. So just trying to blend those in a little bit. I was Googling what sunflowers should look like, and I saw several images online that showed lots of red and brown on the leaves. So I was trying to replicate that. So I did that to both the darker yellow and the lighter yellow leaves, and I'm just going to add those together. So I'm just gluing those together and offsetting the leaves. And then I have the circle dies. The one larger one I die cut with a dark brown cardstock, and then the smaller one with a lighter brown cardstock, and just layered those up. And then I'm just going to come back in and just add a little bit more brown because I did feel like there was a little much of the red ink. So I'm just going to add a little bit more brown to soften that up a little bit. But you can see that adding ink, it just adds so much more depth to those die cuts. So I created 2 of these sunflowers. And now I want to add some more depth to these flowers, and I'm going to use the dark chocolate luster pen. I just squeeze some of the ink onto my mat, and then I'm just flicking the ink onto those die cuts. So you can see I'm just taking my finger on the bottom of that pen and then just flicking that ink to get some splatter on those die cuts. And you can see how much depth that gives these sunflowers. And then once I'm done, I do just take a sprayer with water and I'm going to spray my mat. And you can see that the ink easily comes up with a paper towel and water. So here's a closer look at the sunflowers. And also one thing to note that you do need to make sure they are fully dry, and it does dry rather quickly. So I'll be using 2 of the nested vintage label dies. I'm using the 2 largest ones, and I'm going to use a piece of this paper from the Yuletide pad. Since this is a fall card, I'm not using the Christmas side, but I am going to use that red side. I think that's really pretty, and I love red for autumn. I think that is a really great color for that time of year. I'm also going to be bringing in the Retreat paper, and I'm going to be using this yellow paper for the largest die. So these 2 pieces are going to layer nicely together. I'm going to go ahead and add glue and add the red one to the top of the yellow one. And then I'm also going to use a piece of the green paper from the Retreat paper pad. That one I cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and I'll add the nested vintage label dies right on top. My sunflowers are going to go at the bottom, and I'm going to be using the Thank You word die from the Oak Lane set of dies. That thank you is going to go at the top of that vintage label. And then I'm going to add the sunflowers at the bottom. I'm just putting glue underneath the circular part of the sunflowers because I want the petals to kind of be raised from the card. I don't want to glue all of those petals flat to the card because I want to have some dimension. I also die cut some of the larger leaves and I'm tucking them underneath the sunflowers. I am cutting the stems off so that I can push those leaves further behind the sunflower. And then the only thing left to do for this card is to add this card panel to an A2 size card base. So hope you liked my cards today, and if you're interested in any of the products that I've used, again, check the links down in the description box of this YouTube video. I'll have a list of all of the products with the links that will take you straight to the scrapbook.com website where you can find out more information about those products. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you like videos like this and want to see more, make sure you click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.